Hey, family, welcome to How Love Works, where we talk about the principles for lasting love. Hey, brothers and sisters, Married at First Sight, Season 10, Episode 10. Well, I think they named this episode, I think it had to do with love. You know, I think once again, they're referring to the concept of everyone wants to be loved in some way, shape, or form. I think that's the takeaway that I got from the title. And I'm in agreement totally with that. I'm sure that wasn't the exact title, but that is as close as I can recall. I looked at the program and I still come away with the same results. I'm not going to belabor the point any longer, nor am I going to beat a dead horse. But I will say that, I had a few takeaways this time. And so I'm going to start out with right now my favorite couple, the couple who I think is most likely going to succeed. But I could be wrong. But I think based upon what I'm seeing right now, since they're pretty much almost at the halfway point, Austin and Jessica. One of the things that encourages me most about Austin and Jessica is the fact that they're still enamored with one another. They still really are involved with one another, and they still are really making one another as well as their relationship a genuine priority. And they enjoy one another. You can see that. They really do. And when you see those kinds of signs where the two individuals in a relationship really enjoy one another's company, that's really refreshing, and I'm glad to see that. I think that, when Austin and Jessica went on that cooking outing with the other couples, minus Taylor and pathological Brandon, it was interesting to me how they almost felt badly about talking about how well they have been enjoying their journey together. Um, I was glad that they realized that there was no reason for apology. They got 1 out of 5 correct. The rest of them are hurting. And as I mentioned last week, I suspect the rest of them, I could be wrong, all 5, but based upon the selection process of these 10 individuals, it had to be by far the worst group of people they have ever selected. That's my opinion. All right. But I will say this to Jessica's credit. Jessica, she may change her mind later, but from what I saw, she is making some great strides. She's starting to use the words like, friendship, and basing their relationship on growing that friendship. And also she's using the phrase, allowing love to grow, and they need to move in together to allow love to grow. And it's like she's been talking to someone, and I know this is totally pre-recorded, so she can't be watching anything I'm saying, but she obviously may have gotten some good advice from someone, because that's exactly where her mind should be. That's the way should think of this thing. Allow the process to happen and allow the love to grow, because the man is showing you that he is into you. Don't do anything to jeopardize the growth. All right. That's Austin and Jessica. Let's move on to Meka and Michael. Meka and Michael. Well, guess what? They're still in that loop, that negative communication loop. Mika's still hyper focusing on the fact that he has been, let's say, less than transparent. And I would say the same as far as Michael is concerned. He feels like she has been less than vulnerable. But I think that what she is saying to him is that she needs integrity from him. And he's saying to her, he needs intimacy from her. That's the takeaway that I'm hearing both of them are suggesting, but they're not really being as clear as they need to be. Okay, he's kind of operating on this don't ask, don't tell mindset or concept, which pretty much means that what his concern is that he is ultra sensitive to failure. He's also sensitive to abandonment. He's ultra sensitive to having bad relationships and relationships that don't work out. And he had said some things during the course of their arguments and during the course of their makeups that he really was he really cared for his wife. And when a man says that he cares for you and he has been going out of his way to care for her, which in my view, that's what he has been doing. He has been doing more than talk when it comes to his care for his wife. He has been trying to be more attentive to her. He has made it a point to make her a priority, and he has tried to please her. But to her point, he has been less than transparent. And I think the reasons that he gives are not an excuse for being less than transparent with your wife. You need to be what I would say, I wanted to use the business term when it came to being transparent with your wife and or your partner. You want to be, you want full disclosure. I guess that's the phrase I want to use. Full disclosure. Whatever your issues are, you need to put them out there, whatever they are. And I think all his issues are rooted in his fears and as well as hers. And so he's not being as clear as he needs to be. But one thing he was clear when he was referring to the fact that every time that Mika and he would have a discussion about something they were not on the same page about, that she would go to outside individuals and discuss it further with them, or to go into detail with others. And ladies, I think some of you already are aware of this, but that is a big no when you're dealing with men. If you really want to put your relationship on life support, you want to do it fast, do that. Go talk to other people like family members and friends about your relationship. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a real problem. It's going to be a real issue. If it's a problem with him not communicating, then maybe what you're going to have to do is you might need to talk to someone to help you to communicate better, but you don't need to go into a lot of details about the whole point that you're dealing with, about the issues that you're necessarily dealing with. But you certainly want to have to come up with a different way of communicating so that it will motivate him or her, no matter who the individual may be, in order to get that in order to communicate a little bit more clear, to help that individual in the relationship to hear you. Okay. I think the bottom line with him is from the beginning, he really is not really good at talking and saying what he really wants. And when he does, he says it in such a way that it doesn't come off the tongue well and it doesn't land well on the ear. And I think really what he's needing and wanting, but he's still not saying, is that he needs intimacy and he needs physical intimacy. They have never consummated their relationship. I think he's fearful of failing in the relationship. I think he really wants the relationship to work, but he just can't handle um, when she floods him with emotion. He can't handle it. So he can't even notify her that he can't handle it, because I think when it comes to that type of situation, most men feel that when they're in a relationship with a woman and they can't deal with the emotions that come up as a result, often men will abandon or leave without giving a woman a heads up or whatever why they're leaving, and it causes a lot of consternation in the relationship. And so women feel abandoned when men do that. But at the same time, men can't handle all of the emotions because we men, we don't trust emotions. And so we, in a sense, we walk out before we fall out, if you will. Okay, in both cases, it's not right. But that's what I'm seeing with him. That's been his way of dealing with the situation. Okay, but you know, he just needs her to stop telegraphing to the world what's going on, because, of course, Taylor found that out. Even though Brandon is a entity, he ain't all that. All right, let's go to Katie and Derek. Katie and Derek, I can see Derek was motivated by Austin and Jessica's relationship. The reason I know that is because of the fact that when he got home, he bought flowers, he put out paints, he kind of went all in, and he said, I want the kind of relationship that Austin and Jessica has, and so even though he had been talking from the beginning all the way up to that very point that he was looking for love to tap him on the shoulder and let him know, hey man, you get off the darn bench, you get in the game now. Now you're in love, okay? But it seems to me now that he's starting to realize that love is not passive. Love is a verb. Love is a choice. Love is an action. And so he does have some responsibility, and he needs to make himself accountable. So if you want to feel the feelings of love, you have to do the actions of love if you really want to experience love. And I'm glad he got in the game. Now, Zach and Mindy, I'm just going to keep it, as you youngins like to say, 100. Zach is a fraud. I'll just keep it 100. He's a hypocrite and he's a fraud. That's just my view. And so here's a guy. He never moved in. I don't know this. I just think the reason he hasn't moved in is because he got a chick on the side. I don't like Zach because Zach is trying to play the nice guy and everything, and I don't really think he is a nice guy. I think he's a bad guy with a pretty face. I think he's not a good guy because he told a bold face straight to Dr. Pepper's face when she asked him, "What happens if you find a female that you don't click with, or one that doesn't meet your expectations?" And then he said he was going to do his best. He was going to be all in. He didn't do his best, and he hasn't been all in. He just been in front of the camera for the sake of being in front of the camera. But he been living his life. She been living her life. And he's always got an excuse throwing up, or he's always got a reason throwing up what I'm not attracted to. Well, like I said, being attractive, non-attractive doesn't matter. Those aren't those may be good reasons, but they're not excuses. He know what he doing. Trust me, he know what he doing. He has an agenda, and it ain't good. But that's all right. All good things come to an end. All right. Last but not least, Brandon and Taylor. All right, let's deal with the elephant in the room. I've already mentioned that Taylor made she made a faux pas. She made a bad mistake. She shouldn't have did what she did. I understand completely why she did it. She was frustrated with this young man. She was actually in her feelings, and he being the way he is, it got the best of her, and so she made a video because that's her thing. She's got to talk, and she's got to get it out, and I know how women are when their feelings are really, really piling up inside their chest. They got to get it out, and so that's what she did. Her platform she used was video. Was it right? I don't think it was the most appropriate way to deal with it, but she did it. All right. Now here's the problem I have with Mr. Brandon. All right, Mr. Brandon, when he talks to Dr. Pepper, he comes in the room and with all his blue on and his gray pants and no socks on, and he's just chilling. He coming in, with his self-righteous indignation, and he sits down and crosses his feet, and just like, oh my God, this woman, he kept calling her this woman. He's already talking about her in the third person. I'm like, this dude is a mental case. Now, she did one thing, the same thing that Meka has been doing consistently. That's why Michael has not really trusted her, nor has she trusted him. But they have been able to work the thing out. Now, this is his problem. Now, this guy didn't have just 3 meltdowns. He had 6. 6 meltdowns. He had 3 in Panama, and he had 3 in DC. First one we already know about is that videotape recording while he was in the bed. The second one is when he was getting videotaped by the crew when he was in the lobby. The third one is when he was leaving. He was so upset, he just left all his stuff up in the room for Taylor to pack up. He get in the van, getting ready to go to the airport. He cussing all the camera crew out, told her to beep. He effed her off. He was just nasty, filthy. I'm telling you, that's a mental case right there. Matter of fact, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this guy. His name is Dr. Gottman. He operates, I think, out of Washington State. I think he's still in Washington State, but he runs the Gottman Institute, and him and his wife are what I would call world famous marriage trainers, teachers. They're just in marriage research. And one of the things that he said, because he has been noted as he has the ability, if he looked at couples and listened to their way they communicate with one another, he can, with more than 90% accuracy, determine if that couple will divorce or not. And the number one way you can tell if a couple will divorce or not is if you see or hear contempt. And that's what I hear out this guy, because he has narcissistic tendencies. Okay, back to where he was when he was talking to Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper comes in there, and he's sitting up here with this self-righteous indignation. He's all in the victimhood. Now, when he gets back to DC, he's still mad about whatever. And so he doesn't move in. Meltdown number 1 in DC. He let a couple days go before he moves in. Then he talks to the pastor, right? Meltdown number 2, they're in the apartment. He's sleeping in another room and playing videos, and she's trying to have a conversation with him, trying to figure out why she's not a priority, why the relationship is not a priority, and why he can't give a cohesive, an original thought about the relationship. He's always following her lead, on and on and on it goes. And then he's kind of like, well, whatever you say, you know. And so it was irritating her because he didn't even seem to have even a modicum of curiosity about her and the relationship. He was like, whatever. That's his attitude. Mr. Monotone himself, right? And so that caused a little rift. And so what does he do? He gets up out of the sofa, goes back in his room, because you can't, he always goes in, he always gets defensive, he always gets impatient, and it's always somebody else's fault. So he gets up and goes in the bedroom, starts playing video games, proving everything she just said was correct. So she does it again. She makes a big dinner, cleans up the house. He comes in out of his room, goes into the kitchen. They sit down and have a meal. They have a little discussion about the last conversation. He gets defensive again. And of course, once he gets defensive, then he emotionally breaks down or emotionally abandons the relationship. And then what does he do? He gets up and walks off. He gets mad, gets up, walks off, goes in the room. So she gets upset. Of course, that's when she makes the video. He hears the video, and now all of a sudden, he had 3 meltdowns, 6 meltdowns. I just listed them. And he talks about her as though she's sleeping around and talking to dudes and going to bars and all this stuff. I never heard him mention that one time. Not one time. And now all of a sudden she doing all of these things. And he's talking to his friend like there's something wrong with her and she's got an agenda and it's always been her fault. I said, the boy is a straight mental case. He's stonewalling, he's defensive, he's criticizing, he has contempt. All for the things that Dr. Gottman says if you see the relationship is a wrap. He's acting like she did something to him. 6 meltdowns. 6. Count them. She did something to him? Look, I think the woman did everything she could do to try to salvage that relationship. She was angry with him and she tried to make amends. He wouldn't even try. Then when she asked him, do you really want to be friends? He goes, no. Self-righteous, just full of himself, so self-absorbed, just totally self-absorbed. That dude, man, any woman come even 5 feet to him, they need to run. That dude is a mental case, I'm telling you. He doesn't have any skills at all. At all. Everything was her fault. He magnified the whole thing. He blew it up. He tried to embellish it more than it was. Oh, she took the video in front of the apartment. She tried to hurt me. Well, when you was telling her to bleep off and you were leaving the room 6 times in a row, you wouldn't talk to her. You didn't make her a priority. You act like that didn't even happen. And we should just get over it because that's the way he talked to her. You just get over it. And talking to her all nasty and disrespectful throughout the whole marriage. And then when he talks to his friend, he's acting like I'm the victim. Oh yeah, the experts, they dropped the ball on that guy. They really dropped the ball. Now, I know they don't do psychoanalysis and all that stuff, so I'm just saying, this guy is a straight mental case. She need to let that dude roll, okay? But that's all I can say about that situation. If you guys see anything I missed, please add it in the comments. But that's the way I see it. That boy, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have to pray for him. That dude, I'm going to tell you, he needs to be redeemed. That's all I can tell you. He needs to be redeemed because he is a straight narcissist. He is totally self-absorbed. He is totally self-absorbed. That's my time. I thank you for yours. I catch you on the other side. God bless.